Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Center for Healing podcast. Ryan Hassan here today. Very, very excited to be talking to Jem Williams. Jem is a somatic guide, holistic counselor, and self-trust mentor for women who are reconnecting to their truth and power. And we're ready to go, Jem, because we just had our coughs before we pressed record, and now we're flying. How are you today?
It's like, let me clear my throat before we get stuck in. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm really good today, feeling yeah, light and grounded at the same time. Gotta love that.
that's fantastic. I'm hoping I feed off a bit of that energy, and by the end, I feel the same. I got bugger all sleep last night, but we're powering through. I've got a possum in the roof at the minute, which is
Oh my
they're
gosh.
very active at night time, those nocturnal creatures. So anyway, we'll work that out. Jem, for all those people listening, you're a student through the Center for Healing.
Mhm.
I'd love to hear you to let people know a little bit about, what you do now, the work you do, the people that you help.
Yeah, well, I work mainly with women, and we come together in a space of reconnecting to bodies, reconnecting to their sense of self-trust, to their power, to their inner wisdom, their intuition. It's really a lot of work around finding clarity through when people are feeling that sense of overwhelm and the mind is spinning. A lot of my clients will reach out to me and say, "Hey Jem, I really need to get clarity on this one thing that I'm moving through right now. Do you have space?" And so we'll jump on a call and we'll guide them into their bodies and help them find the answers.
That's
And
so
yeah, it's a
good.
really beautiful process.
It is. It's good when you have clients as well that kind of have that awareness of like, hey, I'm
Hmm.
stuck on this one thing and now I need to reach out to Jem to
Yeah.
work on it, as opposed to like, my whole life's a mess, fix it? So
Yes.
that's nice.
Yes. Exactly. Like I think it's so great. I think sometimes with the work that we do, it's funny because like we're teaching people these skills that are life skills, right? These are the things that really you don't need me anymore. Like I'm teaching people so that they can sort of go off into the world and they understand what's happening in their bodies and they can do the work themselves. And so it's not a great business model because like you're like, oh, here you go, you've got the tools now. But I do have those wonderful clients who realize that like we do need help and support in some places and to say, all right, like it's nice to have a container where we can be guided in. And I'm not there to give them the answers, I'm there just to guide them inward and hold that space for them. And they find all of these incredible answers within, and that's the best way to do it.
Oh, for sure. And I'm glad to hear the tradition's continuing because when we started the center nearly 10 years ago, we would say the exact same thing. We would do our programs and there was no like ongoing, like you need to see us or that kind of thing. It's like,
Yeah.
off you go, child, flourish in the world.
Yeah.
And we would speak to like business coaches and they're like, no, but you need people to keep coming in. I'm like, not really. No, not for the benefit of man and womankind, really.
Exactly. Yeah. This is the bigger picture, right? It's like we kind of there's a part of us that wants to like do this work and make money and like really like flourish financially and build this abundance and wealth, but then there's the humanitarian side of things where it's like we're just making a ripple effect and we're changing the world like one person at a time, one moment, one breath at a time, and that's really where we get the satisfaction for what we do from.
Yeah, and I found that like the other stuff tends to come anyway if you focus on that.
Yeah.
It's like just help as many people as you can and other stuff will generally fall in line.
Yes.
That's my experience anyway. We were chatting a little bit before we pressed record, and I really wanted to have the conversation on the show because you said you'd been working with, quite a few different people who'd gone through our trainings and possibly other trainings, and they're at that really I know a lot of people listening to this show will be kind of in that phase at the minute. They're in that phase of, okay, I've got this certificate, I've learned this, I've learned that. I know that I have a unique medicine and a framework and modalities to be able to help people, but like, where do I start and what do I do? Because I've worked with sort of a lot of people at that phase, but I'd love to hear what you've seen, sort of what the challenges that they face, I guess, at that point.
Yeah. I think like one of the biggest things is learning how to trust yourself, and also breaking through that like limitation of the fear of being seen or the fear of being heard or the fear of using your voice and stepping into your power. Like I think that we all have this like beautiful, unique flavor to offer the world, and when we enter into these spaces, we kind of like, we enter into a little bit of an echo chamber, and we think, oh, there's so many people doing what I'm doing. Like, why would they want to hear
Mm.
from me, or what's, what is it about me? So I guess like I'm seeing a lot of people who have limitations imposed from childhood or things that they've inherited from their family lines where they've felt like they need to be small to be safe,
Mm.
and they need to be quiet to be safe, and that, for like I'm working with women, little girls should be seen and not heard, like that stuff, like it sits in the backs of our minds, and it runs, and we just don't even realize that that's like underpinning our beliefs and our limitations as we move through the world. So as we go through the process of exploring what's happening inside of the body, we kind of like unlock these little doorways and see what's inside, and are able to hold space and witness and validate those parts of us that really have been kind of running the subconscious programs for so bloody long. And once we can hold space for them and we witness them, and they kind of like have an opportunity to have a relationship with us, then when they start to pop up through life, we can choose a different path, and we can start to speak up, and we can start to allow ourselves to be seen, and we start to like build that muscle of self-trust, because it's like, okay, cool, I've done this thing, I've put myself out there, I've said this, and I didn't die, I didn't get punished, I didn't, experience this like terror. Maybe we did experience the terror, it sometimes
Yeah.
happens, but like I'm okay. And so, okay, cool. So taking a breath, and like, what's the next thing that I can do to build that muscle up again and again and again? So,
Yeah.
oh God, that was a really long answer.
It was no, no, it resonates so much with what I've seen as well. It's these, I remember I started a few years ago just doing some like mentoring with embodied processing students at this particular point, and all of them had the same thing. They're like, I just want to catch up and just learn about the logistics of running a business. Like, I want to know about how do I do a website and a booking system and blah blah. How do I get testimonials, all that. And I'm like, cool. Every single one of those sessions, we ended up doing EP work on these exact protector parts and fears
Yeah.
that we had, because it's not overly difficult, because we live in the age of information, to find out, the steps we need to take to put ourselves out there and attract clients and whatnot. But at the end of the day, there's so many core fears that lie within us. And so many people, my story as well as most people that I've worked with, is that at some point in our life, in our developmental years, we were outspoken, we were loud, we were large, like energetically large, and we were criticized and put down for it, or our attachment to our caregivers was threatened by doing that. And so then we create this little protector part, this inner judge, this inner critic
Mm.
that now lives within our psyche, and its function is to keep us safe. Because it's like if you stay small, if you stay quiet, if you're seen and not heard, then you can remain, have that attachment and connection to other people, and then that lives with us. Some people lives with them forever, and decades pass, and they've still got that little voice in their head and that feeling that whenever they even naturally start to express themselves in a really confident way, that little judge steps in and goes, stop it,
Yeah.
quieten down. And we start to go into that shame posture and, okay, I'll be quiet again. And it's just this, I guess, what was very adaptive at the time that it was created has become maladaptive, and is really preventing people from stepping forward, whether it's with their business or whether it's with relationships or whether it's with money or their physical health or just confidence and
Yeah.
self-worth in general. And so much of this work is, as you said, it's like getting to know those little judges and protector parts that we have, and not fighting with them, because it's easy to go, I hate that I do that to myself.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
easy to fall into
Yeah.
that. But that's
Absolutely.
like the funny thing then is it's like we're judging our judge part. And so now we're just having like a judging tennis match, which doesn't really get us anywhere.
It's wild. The amount of time that we spend in an internal war within ourselves, like it's just, gosh, that resistance is causing the suffering above all else. Like really, it's just like when you hate that part, it's not going to go anywhere, and we cannot hate ourselves into change, unfortunately. But a lot of us, like, we take that route before we understand differently.
Oh, it's so true. I think anyone listening, it's important to really inquire into. It's like, well, if I'm seen, if I put myself out there and I'm seen, like, what do I actually feel? Like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
So, well, someone will criticize me, or
Mm,
someone who I deem more intelligent, might say you shouldn't be doing this. And it's like,
mm,
so what
mm,
happens then? And and we
mm.
trace it back, and like they can start to see, well, nothing objectively really bad's going to happen, but for some reason it feels that way. It feels like my survival's at stake here, and all of it's because of these old survival patterns. And I had, it was really, I loved what you said about people think that there's this mass of all these practitioners out there that are doing well, and they feel lost in it. But that's just the circles that we hang out in, especially when we're
Yeah.
doing trainings and everything. And
Yeah.
I had one, and she was so good at doing content because she was really blunt and like in a beautiful way. Like I loved
Mm,
it. Like she would take a topic on and be really, to the point. And she was gonna do this video or an article on a certain topic, and she's like, "Oh, I was gonna do it, and I just didn't because I was on Instagram, and the holistic psychologist had already done something on that topic." And I'm like, some people would rather hear from you than the holistic psychologist because it may be the same topic, but it's very differently
yeah.
delivered.
Exactly. And not everybody's following the holistic psychologist.
No.
A lot of us are, but not everybody. And that's the thing that we forget is that I think that this process, like this embodied processing experience, is so unique, so necessary, so needed, and it's so different from like normal psychology. But it really is what we should have learned in school. It's like this is foundational, fundamental stuff of understanding self and learning how to like be with self. But it's it really is quite out there. I think for a lot of people, they're like, "What is somatic therapy?" Or like, "What is somatic? Like, what does that mean? What is it? What is the body?" And so we really get to teach people like something that is so foreign to so many people. Like, how do you drop out of your head and be with your body? Like,
Yeah.
we're so resistant to that. We're not taught how to do it, and it is just like the most powerful thing. I wish we could just teach everybody so easily.
I know, I know. You said before we pressed record, you said to me, you guys cracked me open. What does
Yeah.
that mean?
Yeah. Well, the question you asked me is anything off limits. And I, throughout this process, and I think also throughout the medicine of life in the last few years, I think I started studying with the Center for Healing maybe 4 years ago. And just throughout this process, it has been uh, removing layer upon layer for me of shame. So my family, my big inheritance is shame, an addiction to shame, and that comes from alcoholism on both sides of my family. Both of my parents then were children of alcoholics and carried this shame, and then so lovely passed it on to me. And so with working through embodied processing and even root cause therapy, all of the work that I've done with the Center for Healing has been peeling back these layers of shame and allowing me to connect in with truth and honesty and vulnerability and allowing myself to be seen by people. And I have connected to my truth and my honesty so much more and in depth, and I have more like I feel so open, like I'm an open book. I'm here to talk about anything because I have lived a fucking crazy and wild life. In 36 years I have done some stupid shit, and I have put myself in some very dangerous situations, and I'm still here to tell the tale. I'm still here to laugh and smile about it. And I just want, I think that like being able to be honest about that and take responsibility for my part that I played in putting myself in those situations, it's just so freeing to be able to
Mm.
own it, and know that all of those, the reasons why I put myself in those situations was because there were parts of me that were seeking my attention. There were parts of me that were seeking a resolution or a completion or a corrective experience. And so I can hold so much more compassion for myself instead of hatred towards myself for, putting myself in domestic violence situations or for being addicted to drugs or whatever it might be that I've done in my life. I can take responsibility for it without hating myself for
Mm, that's absolutely amazing, Jem. I'm so
Yeah.
happy that you've had that experience, and
Mm,
that really is that compassion for self is really the antidote or the opposite to
mm,
that shame state. You know,
yeah.
shame is a very heavy feeling associated with an identity of there's something inherently wrong with me. I'm deficient in some way as a human being, and then we go through life and we accumulate these experiences that kind of seem like evidence that that is true.
Yeah.
And so it's like the belief in the identity is a self-perpetuating cycle because we keep engaging in behaviors and activities where we're like, see, you're a piece of shit, obviously. And then we go into
Yeah.
shame, we do it again. And I think, yeah, breaking free from that is just doing a complete 180. And it's difficult. I'd love to hear your experience of the healing journey because, based on our chats, your one history is one of a lack of self-worth, being able to find that self-worth, and a lot of those perceived deficiencies, I guess, showing up in relational situations.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Um, well, my 20s were like two long-term relationships, and it was, I just did not know myself. I did not trust myself. I had no idea who I was. And then I sort of like towards the end of my 20s, I guess like maybe spirituality kind of found me a little bit. I started to do a bit of yoga and I started to understand that I was in a cycle of addiction. So I was smoking a lot of weed and I was drinking every weekend and maybe doing some coke. And it was like living weekend to weekend. And I was in a codependent relationship. Both of my relationships in my 20s were codependent. And I think that goes hand in hand with the addiction side of things. But I started to realize, I think at 29, I decided I was going to take a year sober. It started off with 3 months, and then I was like, well, this feels really good. So it took longer and longer and was like, all right, I'm going to do 12 months. And throughout that 12 months, I kind of like, I came to the realization that I was going to have a future. And I don't think that I ever realized that I was going to make it past 30
Wow.
when I was in my 20s. Like, I don't know why. And it might just be like the history of addiction in my family or whatever. But I realized that I could invest in myself, that I was worthy of investing in myself, to doing study, that I could have a future, that I could start to plan 3, 5 years down the line. And it was weird that I'd never even considered that. But I think that sobriety helped me have that experience of like, oh, um, there is more to life than just getting through the week so that I can get fucked up on the weekend and forget the fact that I hate my weeks kind of
Yeah.
thing. Like,
Well, it's like a
and then,
cycle, isn't it? It's like you're on
yeah,
that cycle and it's like a weekly cycle and it just keeps
yeah,
going and keeps going. And it sounds like once you broke that, all of a sudden that weekly cycle kind of expands
yeah,
and you're like, oh, what else?
yes, exactly. And like getting out of the mundane, it felt like Groundhog Day. And then instead of drinking on the weekends, it was like going for a hike and seeing the sunrise. And I was like in nature. And so it's like all these little things were stacking on top of one another. And I guess that they started to layer up. And um,
When you said spirituality found you,
yeah.
how? What was your first sort of like introduction to it? You saw something, you read something, and for whatever reason, you're at a point in your life where you're like, there's got to be more to it than this, than getting
Yeah.
fucked up every weekend and doing the same
Yeah.
thing.
I think there was one book that I read, Gabby Bernstein, The Universe Has Your Back. And for me, because she speaks about her experience with addiction, I think that really helped me reading that while I was getting clean. Um, and then I had a friend who took me to, I mean, for me, I don't think it's weird, but at the time I was like, is this weird? But it was a kirtan, like a woman singing mantra, basically, playing guitar. She was from the States. And I think that I was just like so deeply moved by the fact that there was all these people in this room singing together. Um, and I was just like, this is connection and this is community. And I had been craving it for so long. Um, we deeply crave connection as humans. It's like it's intrinsic in us. And I was like, oh, there's something here. And it was, spirituality was bringing people together. And then since then, throughout my 30s, it's been those kind of spaces where I felt most deeply connected to myself, to the divine, and to the people around me. And it's just, yeah, it's been beautiful. But it's not been like an easy path, let me tell you. It's still been like
I was
dysfunctional
about to say,
relationship after
is
dysfunctional
she the only
relationship.
one that's had a clean
No,
ride here?
not a clean ride at all. Um, yeah, so, but, you know, I had things happen with my body. I had an extreme freak accident where my leg broke when I was just walking across the street um, when I was 30. And that helped me kind of like see that my body is speaking to me because there was nothing wrong with me physically. I had all these tests done, but emotionally, I was in a state where I didn't have the courage to end a relationship that should have ended like 3 years before. My my psych said to me, "You couldn't break it, so your body broke for you." And
Mm.
I was like, "Whoa." And that was the first time that somebody ever kind of explained this like psychosomatic thing to me that like the body is speaking to us and it will keep talking to you like whispers, 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 and then it will hit you like a fucking
Well,
truck.
yeah, the more that we don't listen, the louder
Yeah.
the message gets. And a broken leg
Yes.
while crossing the street's a pretty loud one.
Yeah, yeah. And this is going to affect me for the rest of my life. Like I have had two
Wow.
surgeries on it and it's kind of like fucked with my alignment a little bit, but it's brought me closer to myself as well because it showed me how important my connection to my body was, my mobility is, how much I love to move, to dance, to do yoga. It's like finally 6 years later brought me back down to this path of becoming a yoga teacher as well. And yeah, so oh, honestly, I mean, I could talk about my life. The 6 years between 30 and 36 has been maybe 9 or 10 lives. Like,
Was there was there a moment you said that you inherited this shame?
yeah.
How do you say, hey, I don't want to inherit this. Can you take your inheritance back? Like, was that a process or was there a moment where you're like, oh my God, I don't need to carry this shame around anymore. I actually matter. I'm actually worth something.
I mean, every fucking day I have to talk to myself like that
Yeah.
because I still carry it. It's not like I don't have it within me still. It still is there. It still, is the voice in the back of my head sometimes. And luckily, I have the tools to kind of see it and be aware of it and witness it, but it's not gone. I think that I'll probably be carrying this for the rest of my life, but it's like, how can I be in a relationship with it so that it's not shaping my life to that direction? And instead, I'm cultivating presence toward it and choosing to love it and choosing to sort of see it, witness it, and go, all right, cool, we're going to not listen to that, or I'm going to just feel this for a moment and let this be here, and then what's underneath that or what's on top of that.
So you're saying that you still recognize its presence, but you have a different relationship to it. Yet it
Yeah.
sounds like you're saying it's not so much making the decisions for you anymore or stopping you from doing certain things. And that's one of
Yeah.
the key things, right? We think
Yeah.
like, we need to be free from fear or these other
Mm.
emotions in order to take action. Where it's like, no, no, the fear's allowed to be there, the shame's allowed to
Yes.
be there, the sadness, the grief, it's all allowed to be there. It's like,
Exactly.
do we have a container with which we can see it and hold it
Yeah.
and breathe into it and then go, okay, I know you're afraid, but
Exactly.
we're doing this anyway.
Yeah. And I think that in society, and even like in this healing, maybe the new age healing, but maybe just healing in general, is that there's this like, I want to get rid of this. I want to release this. I don't want to hold this anymore. I want to let this go. And yes, like there's benefit there to cathartic release and like getting like shifting your mindset and that kind of thing. But there is, I feel, much more benefit in choosing to love what's there and choosing to accept what's there right here, right now. And then when we do that, that's where the alchemy takes place.
Mm.
Like that's when we start to transmute and it starts to transform and take a different shape and take a different form and even just come to more of a sense of awareness that it's there. Because when we are in that, oh, I hate this voice in my head, or I hate that I keep doing this to myself, or I hate my inner critic and she just keeps talking to me about this shit and I keep listening to her and I hate it. That's, like I said before, we can't hate ourselves into change, and we're in a fight within ourselves again, and we're in that suffering and that resistance. It just causes more of an inner turmoil.
Yeah, it's about finding that because I think that some people call it awareness, consciousness, spirit, soul, the self with a capital S, whatever the name is.
Yeah.
It's like there's a part of us that isn't the emotional state. And so I think a lot of the early steps is helping people even touch that just for a few moments so they can realize there's something else. Because we can
Yeah.
be in a shame state just for years and years. So it feels like the core of who we are, just
Mm.
because it's been the predominant experience. Or we can have people sort of pinging between anxiety and depression, which are two states. And it's like, well, I'm a combination of these two things when, we can do this work and we can touch on this part of us that it witnesses anxiety, depression, shame, sadness, but it's not that.
Yeah.
It's witnessing it. And then when we can touch on that, we can spend more time there. IFS calls it the self.
Mm.
Then all of a sudden we can see that, okay, this conscious aware being with all these different parts and things going on down here, which feel really uncomfortable or sometimes really great, but it's not really the core of who I am. We're in a much better place
Mm.
to work with those things
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. And I think that the most difficult thing for a lot of people, if they haven't even had the education like we've had here with the Centre for Healing, is there's so much fear of even just touching the shame or just holding space for that or allowing it because they're worried that it's going to suck them in and they're going to get stuck there.
Yeah.
And so to have the courage to go, okay, I'm going to sit here and be with this and just watch it for a little bit and see what happens. I think that that's what truly shifted for me was when I decided, okay, what's the worst that could happen? Because I feel terrible all the time. I'm punishing myself and I'm acting violently towards myself all the time. It couldn't get any worse. Why don't I move into this? Because I keep hearing about this. If I move into this, move into my body and see what happens. And then I did. And I didn't get stuck there. And instead, I sort of felt this like sense of liberation because I was like, oh, I've experienced like the void of the greatest pain and the greatest shame and the most uncomfortable sensation that I've ever felt in my body. And I survived. I can keep going back there if I need to. And that's how I started to build the muscle of self-trust and the muscle of self-awareness and of going, okay, discomfort doesn't kill me.
Yeah, it becomes such a large sort of gremlin. It's like when we don't want to look at it, a part of ourselves, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. When we turn towards and look at these things, we can start to understand them and know their origins and their function and that they're trying to protect us. But before then, it's really scary. And I loved what you said. Like, I would do the same thing with clients. I used to have them, especially male ones. They're like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know if I want to jump in and feel that. I'm like, you're coming to me because your life's a mess and the way that you're doing things is just seeing you, live out Groundhog Day every day. You're here to do something different. Should we try? All right, I'll try. And, 10 minutes later, they're bawling their eyes out. They're grieving their father from 10 years ago, all that kind of stuff. But it's so important as well that people, early on, we often do need a guide. It's so important to reach out to someone like Jem or another practitioner, somebody who's been there before,
Mm.
because if someone, and I was used to, I remember going through addiction and I'd go to all these like court ordered, professionals in air quotes, and it's like none of them had met themselves at a very deep level,
Mm,
so it's, I knew subconsciously we can pick up on that,
yeah,
whereas when we're in the presence of somebody who we can feel has been there and worked through that, that kind of gives us permission to go places that we might have thought previously were a little bit too intense and scary to go. And you mentioned this right at the start, but when we do that and we like dip our toe in the water, then and we come out and realize that we're okay, then it gives us confidence to do it again,
yeah,
and then again and again, and then we chip away and we start processing and we're working through all of these old energies and imprints within the body. And then before we know it, we're starting to have a very, very different experience of what it feels like to be us in our body interacting through our senses with an outside world, because that's all that we're doing. We're taking in this information from the outside, filtering it through all the garbage we've accumulated throughout a lifetime, and that
yeah.
becomes our reality. So it's like, let's work through the garbage,
Mm,
the energies in here, and then our perceptions become different. And I
yeah.
used to have clients say to me, it's like, oh, I'm afraid to cry. I could tell, like their face was just screaming out to please give me a release of crying. And I'm like, what are you afraid of? And they'd say, well, if I start crying, I won't be able to stop.
Yeah.
I'd say, was it okay if you cry forever? It's okay with me if you do. And so then they would do it. And then they would cry, sometimes for 1 minute, sometimes for 10 or 15 minutes. But it would stop. And they'd come out the other side and go, what was that? I was like, that's feeling an emotion. It's like what you said. It's like we should learn this stuff at school, not learn it
Yeah.
when we're all messed up in our 20s, 30s,
Yeah.
and 40s.
It's wild, isn't it?
It
But
is.
yeah, it's powerful. It's powerful. I feel like it's interesting. Like last year, I felt like most of my first sessions with most of my clients, something was happening, and it was like they would just come in, and within 10 minutes, they would be crying. And then I'd receive a message after the session, I haven't had a cry in so long, or I don't feel safe to cry normally, or whatever it is, but thank you so much. And it's just like, yeah, we can just be here and sit here and we can breathe together and you can cry and
Yeah.
that's okay. It doesn't have to be anything other than what it is, but we
That's
spend
holding space
so
though,
much
isn't it?
time. It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We spend so much time apologizing for our emotions. Um, I think particularly as women, because it's like, oh, women are emotional, like, and it's like, no, it's we're all emotional. It's just being human. But
Yeah, it's the
yeah,
crying, the anger one too. Like so
yeah,
many female clients, because one of the things like we'll teach in EP, it's like let's bring the anger up. Well, let the angry part of you express itself. And we might be working through a memory where there's somebody else there in the memory, and it's like if there was no filter, no consequences, how would this anger express itself to that person? Like, I can't. I'm like, you
mm,
can. We're here. We're just playing around here. There's no consequences. And eventually they might go, fuck you, you piece of shit. They go, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, I need to apologize. That was beautiful. Let's let it go. And
mm,
it's such a automatic thing. I think we're so culturally conditioned, for a lot of the times, women, it's anger. For men, it's that vulnerability and crying and trying to pull that in. And we don't realize, but we're always trying to hold it together in
yeah,
situations and in life. And what you're describing with those clients coming in and just letting themselves experience the emotion. It just means they finally come to a space where it's like, let me take all these masks off
yeah,
and the armor that I've been wearing, and I get to be me for a minute.
exactly. Yeah, yes, I'm here for
Yes.
it.
What is, Jim, just to give some ideas, now you mentioned yoga already, but what are some of the practices that you engage in your life today that really help you keep on track, help you stay open and vulnerable and all of that?
Okay, I have three-part plan. No,
Like,
I
let me get my pen and paper.
um, one of the things that I've really been loving recently is actually just self-loving touch, so physical touch. And it started off with practicing gua sha for like lymphatic drainage.
Okay.
And then I realized that I was creating a connection with my body, with my skin, with my hands and my fingers that I hadn't kind of like cultivated before. And oh God, I feel calm as soon as I touch myself there like that. And so I will, yeah, take time. and make an effort to give myself a head massage or give myself a neck massage or a breast massage, because this is a really great place for releasing grief, or give myself a foot massage, you know. And so self loving touch is just such a powerful thing to reconnecting into the body and to, I suppose, like have a grounding moment with yourself. You know, we don't slow down, we don't pause to be with ourselves. You know, sometimes we're like, oh, I have to meditate for 20 minutes. And it's like, okay, no, what if I like pour myself a bath and I just sit in the bath and I give myself a hand massage? And that for me has been really great this year because I've been single this year. And normally I would rely on a partner to give me loving touch. And so now it's like, okay, I'm actually the moments that I need it the most are the moments where I notice that I'm having a yearning for somebody to touch me, or a desire for attention or validation, you know, externally. It's like, okay, so how can I give myself a little bit of a dopamine bath by or an oxytocin bath by truly like giving myself that
It's
that
meeting the need
touch.
yourself
Yeah, exactly.
as opposed to needing it, externally, which is
Yep.
that reaching that we all do, in
Yes.
those times when we have some sort of need, and sometimes maybe we don't even realize what the need is, but it's like,
Mm,
let me grab my phone, let me grab a drink, let me grab drugs or
yep.
another person, or, trying to use.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's a good one as well because most people are so disconnected from their bodies. They kind of see the body as this annoying thing that we need to maintain, and we'll only sort of pay attention to it when it breaks down to some degree. It's like, oh, I better go get a massage because I'm so tired, or I better go get to the doctor
Yes.
for this issue and everything. When it's like, no, we can actually connect with our body exactly like you're saying
Mm,
whenever we need to. And it's so,
yeah.
and the clients that I've had do that as well, when they start doing it, they can't believe, first of all, how simple it is and how good it made them feel. But they have this little, what's the word? This little bit of grief that they've kind of neglected their
Yes.
body
Yeah.
for so long. It's like, I'm so sorry. I've
Mm,
been neglecting
yeah.
you for so long, but I'm back.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's opening up a communication pathway. Like if you can sit in silence and for me, you know, I've had some shoulder issues and it's all kind of been around like this space in the front and back of my heart space. You know, I've like been holding on to a lot of grief and a lot of heartbreak. And so to be able to spend time with myself and like tune in and listen to what my body is communicating to me, sometimes I'll be, you know, in a space of self touch and I'll receive this message, you know, from my body that's, I'm like, oh my gosh, there it is. Oh wow, I completely like, thank you. Now I have this like deep understanding of what what it is I've been moving through or what I need to do next. Like sometimes it's like clarity. It'll be like,
Yeah.
listen to this, listen to this, listen to this. Like, and so it's very hard to ignore.
It's
Um,
so interesting. It's when we realize that, then we're always open, and we automatically create a different relationship with what we would previously just say is just discomfort or pain or annoying.
mm,
Because we also, yes, we're experiencing that, but we're also like, what's the message here? Like,
yeah.
what do I need to know? I was chatting, like, we were doing some recording. Noel, who's one of the EP trainers, and I yesterday, and he was sick a couple of weeks ago. And I saw him yesterday, and he was sick again. He goes, I never get sick. This is twice in a month. And then he's like, well, we started chatting and like, I wonder what I'm neglecting in my
Yeah.
life, what
Mm,
I'm not paying attention to, or am I doing too much? And we had this conversation, and he's on a journey of now working that out instead of just going, oh, I'm sick, this sucks, give me some meds and I'll get better when I
yeah.
get better.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's an opportunity to listen. It's always, our body is always communicating to us. So, yeah, I just find that it's so powerful to see that question that Noel asked, like, what am I ignoring? Or such a good question is, what am I avoiding right now?
Yeah.
If you can, like, like really have that deep understanding of what I'm avoiding, it's you go straight into it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so
Mm.
anything else? Any other practices at the minute?
Yeah.
Do you still see someone, from a
Hmm.
client perspective and everything?
Hmm.
And yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I have a wonderful practitioner of EP that we're working through our level two stuff together,
oh, sweet.
and we support each other and we sort of take it in turns to sometimes we'll practice, sometimes we'll just hold space for one another. And we've over the last year we've built a really beautiful connection, and so it's nice to have somebody to sort of hold me through that. Like I just think that everybody needs support. No matter where you are in your journey, no matter how far you are along, like therapists need therapy too.
100%. If you're
Yeah.
listening to this right now and you feel like you're, because like we can be in the bubble of the training, and then as we spoke about at the start, then we're going to go out and, build a business and help people. And it's like, I'm going to go off on my own and do everything. And the tough thing with that is, like you said, we all need help. When things are going well, we'll be okay. As soon as things, and they invariably will, especially if you're starting a
Hmm.
business
Yeah.
or if you're deep into a business, there's going to be all these challenges and tough times. And if you don't have somebody that you can reach out to and ask for support, it's going to be really, really hard to continue,
Yeah.
because you need that. So I encourage anyone to do exactly as Jem's doing and have that someone that you can either, yeah, do sessions with or just talk about stuff, because
Yeah.
this work can be heavy, man. Like some of the stuff that we hear in session that people have gone through, it's sort of some of the most horrific stuff
Yeah.
that human beings can experience. And it's like, we pick that up. We're normally very empathetic human beings who get
Hmm.
into this work. So,
Hmm.
we probably need that safe space more than anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we don't need to carry it.
Mm,
But sometimes we need a space to sort of move through it and
me too.
integrate it all. I also write a lot. So I have a conversation with my parts in my journal almost every day. So depending on like what's going on in my life, but when I'm feeling activated, when I have dysregulation or discomfort in my system, I often find that if I'm not in a container where I can work it out with another practitioner, that I can kind of nut it out when I'm in conversation with my journal. So I kind of like will write, like, hey there, anxiety.
Ah, I
What's
love
up?
that.
I feel you. I'm here for you. And it's kind of like my unconditional loving self is in a conversation with the part of me that's feeling activated. And it kind of just like intuitively flows from me. I'm not sort of super consciously aware of the conversation. And then I can take a beat and have a breath and look back and be in feeling while I'm writing. And it kind of helps me with being able to like kind of have a pinpoint of it, because I think if I'm sitting and doing the work by myself just in my body, I can kind of get lost in my head.
Mm.
Whereas if it's like directly moving through my body onto the page, I can kind of like not get stuck in the story so
It's
much
like an
and
anchor.
stay in my body. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yep.
do you then, if you like say, hey, anxiety, what's up? I see
Yep.
you. Do you then switch roles and you let the
Yeah.
anxiety part talk?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So it'll be like, oh, I'm feeling really. I mean, the most recent one that I worked through was a rejection part. So it was like, oh, hey, like little miss rejection. Hey, babe, I can feel you here. And she's like, yeah, I'm sitting here in the middle of your chest and I'm like super heavy. And there's like a really sharp, pointy part and it's reminding me of like how you're not good enough. And it's reminding me that you're unlovable and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm here. What else do you want to say? And breathe into it, and I'll just like be with it and stay with it. And there's just been so much insight and messaging and understanding that comes through when I look back at those pages after a couple of days. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't remember writing that, but we move through it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's
Well,
so
maybe
great
like little
because I
miss
just don't have to.
rejection after that, she's like satisfied to a degree or a need's been met. So she's kind of gone
Yeah.
somewhere else. So she's probably, yeah, she's not the one up there anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the thing is like I feel like old me would have held on to that feeling or that sensation of the rejection for weeks. Like I would have kept going back to that painful feeling and then kept distracting from it and kept running away from it and kept avoiding it. And instead, the moment that it happened, I was like, well, I've got space here. Let's drop in. Let's be with this and kind of like worked through it. And then the next day, she was there a little bit, but like at a 2 out of 10 instead of a
Mm.
10 out of 10. And then, over the last week, there's been a little, hey, I'm here. And I'm like, oh, hey, babe, what's up? It's okay. It's okay that you're still here. I got you. And then she just disappears again. But like, it's not this ongoing sense of like pain that I've been carrying. Instead of
Mhm.
like, it's like, okay, cool. This thing happened. It was, I like to say, it's not a rejection, it's a redirection. We're clearing the path, we're clearing the space for whatever is aligned to come in. And the pain is okay. Like, it's okay that that's there as well. So, yeah, that's definitely the yoga, the writing, the self touch. I live a really slow life. Like, I'm really lucky. I don't have kids. That was a choice that I made. I I intentionally have created a life where I can have a bath at 11 a.m. and where I can, go to bed and sleep for 9 hours if I want to, or I can, I'm planning on some travel later on in the year for like an indefinite period of time. And that's, that's what matters to me. And so that's the life that I've created because for me, my nervous system just needs that.
Yeah. Yeah. An
Yeah,
intentional life. And that's going to look different for everybody.
exactly.
But it's like also worth, if you're listening to this, maybe just having a bit of a look and going, am I living an intentional life or am I
Yeah.
at the whim of everyone and everything? And it doesn't mean you have to like change your whole life, but it's like, I often get people who are doing nothing for themselves to like, just, can we just start off by carving out an hour or two a week where you can live intentionally for you?
Yeah.
And then maybe they do that and realize, oh, this is really good. And everybody doesn't hate me because I took an hour for myself for the week. And so I
Yes.
was like, cool,
An
let's do a
hour.
few hours.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, there's this big negative connotation around the word selfish. And it's like, well, if you're not going to put yourself first, then who is?
Yeah.
And we are allowed to be a little selfish. We are the one person that we are going to be spending the rest of our lives with. So why not make that a beautiful relationship?
Yeah. Otherwise, we fall into the trap of putting everybody else first, but then also we'll start to build up resentment because we all have these needs. Like every human being has these needs. And if they're not getting fulfilled by us, then we start to resent people because we're like, why aren't they fulfilling my needs and making me feel okay? Because I
Yeah.
do that for them. And now all of a sudden, the keys to our happiness and our peace and all of the good stuff, our well-being, is in the hands of other people. And that's not a very empowering
No,
place to be.
no, no. It's all outside of us. We've got to bring it
Yeah.
back in. Yeah.
Bring it back in. Jem,
Hmm.
this has been great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Where can people get in touch with you? I'm going to put some links down in the show notes underneath this episode, but where's the best place for them to reach out?
I social media is my best. Instagram is soul.and.soma.with.gem. I need to get something that's a bit shorter.
Or it's
You
like it's
follow the
like
links.
It's like, yeah, follow the links. It's like when
Yeah,
I go, to fill out forms like at a bank or something, and they're writing it, and they're like, "What's your email address?" And I'm like, "Ryan at the THE Centre for here." It used to be the Melbourne Centre, if it was even bigger, but I'm like, we really
yeah,
should have shortened that after a while. But I
yeah.
encourage, if anybody listening to this has resonated with what Jem has said, I highly encourage you to reach out to her, get in touch with her,
Absolutely.
have a chat, book in with her, and I also think it's very empowering for people to hear your story and what you've overcome and are still overcoming. We're all human beings. We're all, doing our best. We're never going to be perfect until we probably finish this whole thing. And also just some practical things as well. I love those practices that you're incorporating. I think people can incorporate those and we'll see sort of immediate benefit from all that. So, Jem, thank you for being you and all the work that you do and for coming on talking to me today.
Thank you. I'm like so grateful for the Centre for Healing and everything that you guys have done, everything that I've been able to learn from you. It's been life changing.
Yeah, well, it's our honor and hearing like your story and how the breaking you open and that kind of thing. Like that's why I started the business in the first place. So it's like
Yeah.
that speaks to me probably more than you know.
Mm,
So thank you.
mm.
And thank you everybody for tuning in with us today. We'll see you on next week's episode.